Hello guys, this is Emmanuel here on Cyber Concoct, and in this video we are building a ping sweeper console. So what is this ping sweeper console? Sometimes as an attacker you might identify an IP address on a network, but then you want to find out how many more IP addresses are live on that same network that your target's IP address is on. And in order to do that, you will use a tool like the ping sweeper console that we are about to build in this video. All right, I'm going to demonstrate what this tool will look like. By the end of this video, we will be able to come to our terminal and do something like this. And then it will prompt us to enter a /24 IP address to sweep or to type Q to quit the console. So I'll go ahead and type in an IP address. So this has been identified as a target. So I'm going to sweep the network to find out how many more IP addresses are live on this particular network that my target is on. So I'm going to hit enter. All right, so it has gone ahead. It's saying sweeping 192.168.59.5/24. This is a subnet mask. So it has discovered like 4 more IP addresses. So if initially we only found out our target IP, now we know that there is another IP address here, about 3 more IP addresses that we can, try to penetrate. All right, I can't wait to begin. Let's get into the actual coding. Okay, in order to build out this tool, this our console, there are about 5 bash commands that we will combine together. So I'm going to be going through each of those commands and what they do before we combine them in the later part of this video to build out our console. So the first one is the ping command. So we use this command to test if a network is live or if it's active. For example, we can type ping google.com and we hit enter. So we see that it's sending 64 bytes from this our computer to it. I'm going to stop that. So it's saying ping google.com 56 bracket 84 bytes of data, right? So it sends the first ping command, sends the second, and then if you check here, it says 7 packets transmitted, 7 received, and then 0% packet loss. That means all the bytes that it sent to the target, in this case, google.com, was received back. That means the google.com is live and is active. Okay, the next command we will look at is the echo command. Echo. So this is used to print out a statement or an information to a user. For example, I can decide to echo this is a nice script. So when I hit enter, I get this is a nice script back as output. Now there is another operator which is called a pipe, this command right here. So this is used to run multiple commands on the same line. For example, I can decide to run a command and then run another command all on the same line. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to ping google.com. I'm going to give it a count of 1 so that it pings just once. It will send a byte, 64 bytes once, and then go to the next command which I'm going to provide. Then I want it to echo ping sent successfully. All right, when I hit enter, you see that it returned ping sent successfully. So what this is doing is it is going to ping google.com. It sends one command and then runs this other command which we specified here. The next one is the cut, C-U-T. So what this does is it goes to a command and then uh, extracts a particular information that we need. For example, we can say uh, echo, this is a nice script, and then we want to cut out nice from the sentence. So we are going to cut and then we give it a delimiter. What this means is we are going to cut wherever we see uh, an empty space, which is what we are going to provide. So an empty space, and then we are going to specify the fields that we want back with -F for fields. So this will be field 1, this will be field 2, this will be field 3, field 4, and field 5 respectively. So whichever field we provide here is what will output to us. So for example, we want to get field 1. When we hit enter, we see that we get this back. So if we put field 1 and 2, for example, so field 1 and 2, and we hit enter, we get this is. So what if we want to get field 1, field 2, field 3, and then want to skip nice and then get script? So how do you think we can do that? Similarly, we want to get field 1, field 2, field 3, we want to skip field 4, and then we want to go ahead and get field 5. So we are echoing this is a nice script. Then after running this command, we want to run another command by specifying this, and the next command we want to run is we want to cut out empty spaces and then return the fields 1, 2, 3, and 5. So when we hit enter, we're going to get this is a script. So we have been able to omit nice. Okay, so the next command that we need to build out our Ping Sweeper console is the truncate or the delete command. So what this does is it removes a particular string that we specify with the command. For example, I want to echo another script, okay, and then I want to truncate, and then I want to delete anywhere we see T from the sentence. So I'm going to delete the letter T. So when we run this command, it's going to go through this list, this sentence. It will remove this T and remove this T. So let's go ahead and hit enter. You see that this is another script. Okay, so we've been able to see all these individual commands on their own. Now we are going to combine them to build out our Ping Sweeper console. I'm going to clear my screen now. First thing we need to do is we need to create a directory. It's totally optional, but to make our work neat, I'm going to create a directory. I'm going to call it Ping Sweeper. And I'm going to cd into Ping Sweeper. Now we need to create a bash file. To do that, you can use any text editor you have. I'm going to use Mousepad. So I'm going to type Mousepad Ping Sweeper.sh. Then I'm going to add this little character here. This will enable it to run as a thread. That means I'll be able to have the terminal running while the file is open. So I'll go ahead and hit enter. Now the first thing we need to do is we need to define our shebang, which will specify the interpreter we need to run the file. So bash, when you hit Ctrl S or save, gives it a nice coloring. So the first thing we need to do is we need to echo some nice banner what will be displayed when the console is opened initially. So we want to say echo and then give it a nice little line here. I think this should be okay. Then we want to echo some more commands. So welcome to Bing Sweeper console. And I think this line is too much, so let's reduce it a bit. Okay, this is all right. So we need a few more echo commands. So we need to echo powered by Cyber Concoct, echo once more, the end of the line. This is the end of our banner. And then we need to echo a few spaces in order to make our console neat. So this will be an empty echo statement, another empty echo statement. All right, since this is a console, we need it to be continually open. So we are going to put it in a while loop. So we are going to say while true do. So while the statement is true, this will continue to be true and then our console will be open. And then we want to close it out as done. Now we can come into the echo, the while loop, and I want to echo enter a /24 IP address to sweep. And if you want to quit, you can type Q to quit. Then close it out. So we are only limiting this console to a /24 subnet mask. This is because the /24 subnet mask is a very popular subnet mask that is used by most companies and organizations. So we are going to limit our console to that. In further videos, or if you like, you can decide to upgrade this console and modify it to be more robust. Okay, we are going to go on. Then we need the user to impute a particular IP address. In order to do that, we are going to use the command read, and then we'll specify -r. Then whatever the user enters, we're going to collect it in a variable named IP address. This -r is used here in order to prevent the interpreter from reading slashes as a special character. So we want everything as string. Then once that is done, we need an if statement. Now this if statement is going to check the command. Remember, from here we are either entering an IP address or a queue. So we need to check if this is a queue or if it's an IP address. If now we are making string comparison here. So if what the user has provided is equal to queue, then we want to go ahead and run something. So we'll provide them and then want to echo exiting console. Then want to break out of the while loop. Else, so if what the user has provided is not a queue, that means the user has provided an IP address. We want to go ahead and run something else. We want to print IPs, we are creating a new variable now, and then we want to modify what the user has provided a bit. So we want to echo IP address. Then we want to cut out the periods, because we only need the first three set of integer numbers, because in a /24 the last set of numbers is usually replaceable. It goes from the range of 1 to 254, right? This is what I mean. You know, in a typical IP address, we have 192.168.54.6, for example. So in the /24 network, this is constantly changing. So we can have /4, /5, /6, /7, all the way to 255, sorry. But then the last IP address is usually the host, the host broadcast IP, and then the first one, which is .0, is the network ID. So we don't want to include that. Okay, so we are going to cut it on uh, on the period. We have this here, and then we want the fields of 1, 2, 3. Do it like this, and then we want to begin the sweep. So we echo sweeping the IP address provided /24. All right. Then for readability sake, we want to echo an empty line. Now we need a for loop that will go ahead and be iterating the last digits or integer for us. So we need a for loop for IP in we need to provide a sequence. We need it from 1 to 254. Remember, the last IP address is the broadcast, and then the first one is the ID. So we don't need to go the way to 255. All right. So for IP in the sequence of that, we need to do, and what do we want to do? We want to ping and need a count of 1. That's to send the ping once, and then we need the IPs that we just modified here, the IP that we just modified, and then we need to provide it with our iteration, which is going to be IP. Okay, so it takes the first 3 base and adds 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way to 254. All right. Then we want to run more commands on a single line. Then we need to grep. Now, I didn't talk about this earlier. So what grep does, grep takes a particular string that is specified and then returns a line containing that particular string that is specified. For example, here we want to grep 64 bytes. Okay, 64 bytes. Now, what this will do is it goes to our ping, for example. Let's come back here. So take this for example, we are pinging this IP address. So what a grep does, it goes to the output and gives us a line containing the 64 bytes, which is this. So it will return this whole line for us. That's what the grep is doing. It returns the whole line for us. All right. So after grepping the 64 bytes, Then we need to cut, provide the delimiter of an empty string, that is a space, and then we need the fourth field. All right, so let's go back here. From this output, after the grep has returned this line, we need to check in this line and then return the fourth field, which is counting 1, 2, 3, and 4. So we want to return this. So this will be returned back for us. But then there's a small issue here. This contains a semicolon. So we want to remove that. In order to do that, we'll add the next and last command, which is the truncate. We want to delete, and what do we want to delete? We want to delete the semicolon. All right. So our ping command is done. Now we want to go out of the for loop. To do that, we type in done here, and then we need to provide some information to the user. So we are going to say echo, get a nice little process complete, close that back, close this, and then we need to provide for readability some echo statements. All right. Now remember, we are still in the if statement, so we need to specify that we are done with our if statement. In order to do that, we write fi, and then we go out of the if loop and then conclude on our while loop with the done that is here. All right, our code is done. Let's go ahead and save. Now let me explain from the top what is happening here. So we are providing our shebang, we are printing a nice banner here, and now we are creating a while loop, and then in the while loop we are providing the information to the user. Please enter a /24 IP address to sweep, or type Q to quit. Now we are reading the user inputs and then making sure that slash is not interpreted as a special character. Then we are checking to see what the user has provided, if the user entered a Q or the user entered an IP address. If the user entered a Q, then we want to exit the console and then break out of the while loop. Else, we need to come here and then modify the input that the user has provided. And by doing that, we are getting the first three set of integers in that particular IP address. Okay, then we are telling the user sweeping the address that has been provided, and then we are creating a for loop that will go ahead and then add some integers to the base IP and then checking it to see if it is live by pinging it, returning the output that was gotten, truncating it and getting us just the fourth field, which is the IP address that we want, and then we are removing this particular character here, and then we are notifying the user that the process is complete. All right, let's go ahead and save, close this out. Let's clear the screen. Now if we do ls, we see that we have our ping sweeper.sh script here. We need to change the permissions on it so we can be able to execute it. So ping sweeper.sh. Now ls, see that it's green. Now moment of truth, let's go ahead and run our script. To run it, we can type the name of the script, ping sweeper.sh. Okay, it says welcome to ping sweeper console powered by CyberConcoct. All right, let's go ahead and type in an IP address. I'm going to type in my IP address 192.168.59.5. All right. So it's identifying a couple of IP addresses here. It looks like our console is stalling, so let's go ahead and check the code to see what is wrong. Okay, so we can go ahead and add this character here. Sorry, this will ensure that it's running as a thread, and then this should do it for us. Let's go ahead, close it, and then clear the screen, run the command again, ping sweeper.sh, hit enter, 192.168.59.5. This is a target IP. Hit enter. Okay, so it has completed process complete, and then it has discovered the live IP addresses on the network that our target is on. All right, please, if you enjoyed the video, please subscribe and like.